And top story is always brought to you by Vodafone. The NDC is tonight in turmoil. The chaos over the removal of Harun Idrisu-led minority leadership in Parliament has become an all-out clash between 70 rebel NDC MPs on one hand and the party's national leadership on the other. Both sides of the internal divide have today mobilized to address the media in a desperate attempt to win the hearts and minds of the party's grassroots base across the country. Caught in the middle is a newly appointed minority leadership led by Dr. Kofi Adams, who has today formally accepted to lead his colleagues and has also been addressing a news conference vowing to unite the NDC ranks in Parliament. In the last hour, Dr. Foxing has been paying a courtesy call on the Speaker of Parliament. We are live at the meeting and we will bring you details shortly. But first, here is former NDC Majority Leader and MP for Zibila addressing a news conference on behalf of the 70 rebel NDC MPs, flanked by Muntaka Mubarak, who is one of the casualties of the reshuffle. He says they will only recognize Harun Idrisu as the leader.
We are on recess. By the Speaker's invitation, we are returning on the 7th of February 2023. So we are not yet in the House. But because of the exigencies of this situation, that is why some of us have rushed back to be able to participate in this. Against that background too, is when the Speaker reads the letter to Parliament, the letter he has received from the Secretary of the party that indicating the reshuffle. It is when that letter is read to members of the House that it can take effect. As at now, we are already said we are not there. So as far as we are concerned, the current leaders of the House, Honorable Harun Idrisu, Muntaka and co, are deemed to still be in office.
So that's Cletus Avokade, who addressed the press conference on behalf of those 70 rebel NDC MPs. He demanded an immediate suspension of the decision to remove the current minority leaders.
The basis for our petition is a prayer to suspend the reshuffle indicated by the National Executive of the party until such time, signed by the General Secretary of the party. The petition is signed by the General Secretary of the party. The basis of our petition is to appeal to them to suspend the suspension exercise until such time that there is a holistic meeting of stakeholders and consultation before we take a decision. We are saying so against the backdrop that the National Executive Committee of the party a few weeks ago decided that all appointees in the party and in Parliament should remain in office until after we have concluded the parliamentary primaries and the flag bearer primaries on the 13th of May this year. That all office holders and appointees should remain in office until the primaries are over. We are therefore surprised that the primaries are not yet taken place, they are not yet over, and so investigated and discovered that the Functional Executive Committee, FEC, and the National Executive Committee, NEC, including the Council of Elders, did not have a formal meeting to take a decision on this matter.
Well, today we also heard for the very first time from one of the casualties, Muntaka Mubarak, who has been serving as the minority chief whip. He warned the party is in danger if executives fail to heed the call to suspend the decision.
So we are surprised that this action is being taken the way and the form and the manner it is being done. And let me say this maybe lastly. Most of our colleagues that are being drawn into trying to divide us, we should be very careful, because we have a party that must win 2024 election. And it is not about the Harun Idrisu-led administration. Neither is it about those that are being mentioned to take over. It is about the principle. If that principle, our party sits and allow that with a greater respect, just some few individuals who act without the party's own structures, then we are all we'll all be in danger. Because then when we win, when by the grace of God we win power, Is it how decisions are going to be taken? I don't think that's how we want to act.
Well, there's tonight also a constitutional challenge, the decision to remove the current crop of minority leaders. Former Deputy Attorney General and NDC MP for Aborga East, Dr. Dominica Unith, says the decision is a violation of the party's constitution.
I am not against Atufosin. Neither am I against Amabua. I'm not against Honorable Agoja. They are all my colleagues. But I'm here on the basis of principle. The principle of consultation which has been established, okay, by the party in the selection of parliamentary leadership cannot be abandoned, in this manner. And the fact that a letter written to Mr. Speaker by the General Secretary without the endorsement of FEC, without the endorsement of NEC, is dressed as a decision of the party. Now remember that I refer to others, 7. It says designated by the party. That letter is not a letter of the party. And I'm saying that from a legal technical point of view, it is not a letter of the party. And so if there has to be a letter from the party, then there has to be a meeting of FEC. The matter has to be tabled and a decision taken, and the principal officers can then be told or instructed by FEC to implement that decision, to convey the decision to Mr. Speaker. So this is all that I can say. Some of us are fighting on the basis of principle. We think that what has happened is an affront to the dignity of the caucus. It is not about personalities. Thank you very much.
So that's Dominica Unith there. But also today, we got some clarity on whether or not the, let's call them the outgoing minority leaders in Parliament, whether or not they are willing to leave office if indeed the new appointment is confirmed. Well, Muntaka Mubarak gave one condition. He says he will leave under one condition. Listen.
Casting any insinuation and also creating doubt on the capability of our colleagues, Honorable Atufosin, Honorable Kwame Agoja, and Honorable Kofi Adams. These are our colleagues. We've been working very closely together, those of you who report from this house. And myself, Honorable Abeji, and the leader himself, Honorable Redisu, we will have to be grateful to this caucus. Any day they decide that, we've had enough of you, maybe we want to change direction, we want to change energy, we want to change steam, we will be thankful for the opportunity given us.
It's been a pretty historic day for the NDC for one key reason. Just the sheer number of press conferences held by people of the different sides on the same subject of removal of the old executives and bringing in the new executives. While this particular press conference was going on, addressed by the 70 rebel representatives of the 70 rebel NDC MPs in the House, at the party's headquarters, the national executives were holding their own press conference. At that press conference, we understand, and as we also saw, were the new leaders who have been appointed to lead their colleagues in the House. My colleague, Samuel Mbura, was there. And Samuel, so this press conference was at the NDC headquarters.
Exactly, Evans.
Okay. Who was there?
Okay, I saw the national chairman, Johnson Asedin Ketia. I also saw the national organizer, Joseph Yamin. The general secretary, Fifi Kwiti, was also in attendance. And I saw Sami Jemfi, the national communications officer, at the press conference.
What about the new leaders, new minority leaders who have been appointed, which has caused a lot of this controversy?
Yeah, so they were there. And Dr. Atufosin was actually the one who led the new team, and then he was basically rehashing what he said earlier when he met the media in Parliament, talking about the fact that he had frank and positive conversations with Haruna Idrisu, and they are expecting that by next week they'll be meeting, he will be meeting his other colleagues for them to foster unity in ensuring that they hold the government accountable.
We have agreed with the leadership of our party
that beginning from today, there will be a series of activities that we will be undertaking. The Minority Caucus will have a maiden meeting with our leadership and the party leadership on Tuesday, 31st of January 2023. It is our hope that on that meeting we'll resolve all outstanding concerns.
Samuel, I'm curious. So for him, this is a formal public acceptance of his appointment.
Yeah.
Did he give an indication the sort of leadership style he's going to adopt, considering all the controversy now? Is he adopting a style that will, in essence, turn away completely from the old executives, as in Haruna Idrisu and Muntaka, or one that brings them into the fold?
Well, far from that, Evans, he made the point clear that he would ensure that he engage Haruna Idrisu specifically because he has that experience in the field, and he is going to operate an administration that will have integrity, an administration that will be all-inclusive to ensure that they have, or the common goals of the party are achieved.
I'm deeply honored and humbled to have been chosen to lead our gallant NDC Minority Caucus in Ghana's parliament. I have held fruitful and positive conversation, in fact, frank conversation, with my senior brother, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu. I commended him for his admirable leadership and stewardship when he was granted the opportunity by our great party to lead us. As leader, it will be my duty to represent our collective goals in particular, with an unwavering dedication and, most importantly, with high integrity. But let me also add that our first responsibility is to unite the caucus, and that will be number one on the agenda. I will appeal to the rank and file of our great NDC party to keep calm. Members of Parliament are in good hands. We will work with them with due diligence.
So do we have clarity yet? I mean, because you are the party headquartered, on whether or not this decision to appoint these new leaders has been affirmed by all?
No, that has not been done yet, and they are looking forward to ensuring that that is done for them to start their parliamentary duties.
They are working towards. The new leadership of our minority caucus has called on us today to have a conversation with us regarding the way forward, because the minority group in parliament represents a very important wing of the party. We appreciate that the work ahead is going to require a lot of input coming from them. And of course, they understand that as a wing of the party, they need to work very closely with the leadership of the party to ensure that we can deliver the aspirations of our people, and especially being able to do what Ghana requires of us, which is to work towards taking out of power the most abysmal, the most incompetent, the most corrupt government in the history of our country. And so we've had a beautiful conversation with them. We've also signaled to them that early next week, on Tuesday, we'll be having a broader conversation with the caucus as a whole. And that conversation is one that would basically confirm the decisions that have been taken in terms of explaining the way forward, I mean, for us as a party, and the best way to be able to make sure we deliver the mandate that has been given to us, a mandate that will ensure the well-being of the people of Ghana come election 2024.
So that was Fifi Kwete, the General Secretary of the NDC.
And I want to take you live now to the residence of the Speaker of Parliament, and my colleague Kweku Asante is there for us. Kweku, so from what I understand, the new leaders, Dr. Kofi Adams and his group, they've been to the Speaker's residence to pay a courtesy call. What was this about?
Indeed, Dr. Adams has said that one of the things he's seeking to do is to call on all the power brokers within the party to foster some form of unity. Indeed, he had earlier told the media that he had some conversations with Haruna Idrisu. I put that question to Muntaka Mubarak. He said that meeting has been misconstrued and that some specific things were asked of him. He has not done that. And so he with a meeting with the Speaker of Parliament himself, a big power broker within the NDC. They have been in a meeting for more than 2 hours. The leadership just stepped out. We heard from Deputy Leader Emmanuel Kofi Amabua, who says that the Speaker welcomed them and has promised some form of support, but they are going to focus on uniting their caucus.
It's wise counsel, and so we are very encouraged by it. And we've thanked him for that. Thank you very much. Well, our priority right now is to make sure that we unite our caucus. That's our number one priority, and that is so important to us. Of course, you cannot lead when your crowd, your people are not united, and that's our singular focus. And we are confident we will do that.
I mean, Kweku, what did the Speaker have to say in response to the message delivered by Ato Forson?
The Speaker did not come out with them. Indeed, even when the leaders arrived, it was just a contingent that came to meet them. They went back inside. When they came out on their own. But the indication we are getting is that they have gotten some level of support. Early, we had heard from Cletus Avoka, who claimed that the Speaker of Parliament must read the letter appointing these new leaders on the floor of Parliament before it will take effect. This group differs from that position. And so clearly the Speaker sits in a very pivotal position, but they said they are happy about the reception and the support the Speaker has pledged for them.
And there was the press conference, of course, in Parliament. There were two press conferences, actually. The first was by Dr. Ato Forson when he first publicly accepted the appointment he got, and then laid out his ambitions and goals. He spelled them out, has he not? He already has in his sights some key points on his agenda to pursue when Parliament resumes.
Indeed, he is clear that if not for the current fracas within the caucus, he wants to get to work immediately. But as soon as unity is restored within his caucus, he has 3-point agenda. First, having to do with the bond that government is seeking to restrain people from getting their coupons. Secondly, he's going to deal with reshuffling government itself, and that if President Kufuor is not going to reshuffle his government, then he should not think about appointing any new person to any new office. And then he's also dealing with going on a road tour across the country to let Ghanaians know the economic mess we are currently in.
I wish to first of all send a message to the MPP that the people of Ghana are calling on them to downsize their government, to reflect the mood of the country. You are asking people to forgo their coupons or interest. You are asking the ordinary Ghanaian to sacrifice his payout. And so therefore, if His Excellency the President intends to reshuffle his government, let it be known that we in the NDC will not accept an attempt to increase the size of government. And if the current size of his ministers increase by one, that one person may not receive our cooperation. We also wish to assure the people of Ghana, we have agreed to do public hearing on the audit of the COVID-19 expenditure, beginning on the 7th of February 2023. At that point, we will pay due diligence to the duties given to us as the people of Ghana.
And this was also in Parliament. Shortly after that, the 70 rebel MPs also took their turn, addressed a press conference. And tell me, Kweku, the second press conference by the 70 rebel NDC MPs who are opposed to this appointment because there's no consultation. Did it happen in the same room?
It did not. The first meeting happened in the office of Doyo Gansa, who is the second deputy whip. This other meeting happened in the office of Chief Whip Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak. Before this press conference would have had been held, almost all the 70 MPs were in Parliament, and they converged at the DF Annan Auditorium, where they held a caucus meeting for about 2 hours before coming out to address the media. And Cletus Avoka said this represented their views. Indeed, early on, all 137 NDC MPs were expected to be in Parliament today for a caucus meeting. Dr. Ato Forson, as new minority leader, had moved that to next week to give way for some consultation to take place. It appears those who were already in Parliament decided to meet the old leadership to offer their support and to pledge that they are going to stand by them every step of the way. So that meeting took about 2 hours, before that press conference was held in the office of the Honorable Muntaka Mubarak.
Kweku, thank you very much. A pretty fascinating day indeed if you consider what is happening within the NDC front. I want to bring in a man who has a unique perspective on all this. He himself was a deputy general secretary once, and so was right there at the thick of affairs within the party, making decisions, I guess, before. Thankfully now he's also a member of parliament, and so he also has that perspective that he can bring to the conversation. Is Kofi Adams and joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Adams, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you, Evans, and good evening to your listeners.
Were you in any of the caucus meetings today?
No.
Why?
Well, I decided not to honor any of the invitations to attend any of the meetings.
So the argument from the 70 of your colleagues, and I'm using 70 because that's what Cletus Avoka, who led that side, put forth as a number. The argument is that this appointment, one, it's unconstitutional, frowns in the face of your own party's constitution, and that, as far as they're concerned, they will only recognize Haruna Idrisu and Muntaka and others until the right thing is done. Do you agree with them?
Well, in the first place, I don't know which party constitution my colleague was referring to. If it is the NDC party constitution that I know of, then he's wrong, unless he's talking about a different party constitution. But not the NDC party constitution we have worked with all till this point. I don't see anywhere that he's basing his arguments on. But I believe this is a matter that is solvable. This is a matter that, as matured people, we should be able to sit and talk about. I'm surprised that as MPs, we cannot sit and deal with this matter. We have dealt with even much more complex situations. Even our MPP that cannot solve the problems of this country and they are messing up, recently had a much more murkier situation and they dealt with it. 80 plus of their MPs organized a press conference asking for removal of a minister. Their party came in, they dealt with the issue. Why are we behaving as if we have not solved much more complex situation and built this country to the point that we did, only for this government to come and mess things up the way they are messing? Instead of us focusing to deal with this situation, we are worrying our head, quoting non-existing constitutional provisions of the party to organize press conferences. I think we should be able to sit and talk about this. If anybody feels that maybe the decision of the party, he or she is not happy, there's a way to go about it. It's not public press conferences.
But that's what has happened. You've been in this party for so long. Have you seen it this bad?
No, I'm surprised. Look, I can talk about 2001 upwards. Before then, I didn't have much information about how the leaders were selected. One basic truth is that, yes, a minority leader have never been changed in the course of a term. That has never happened, both for MPP and NDC. It has never happened. All minority leaders have served full terms. So this is the first time such a thing is happening. But the fact that it's happening now doesn't mean it cannot happen. Two, it is the party that have always decided. And from 2001, when we first lost our elections and they have to compose party leadership, Dr. Beda Samoa and the rest were deeply involved, even though he wasn't even the party core executive. He was, I think, chairman of finance committee then. But then he was deeply involved in determining the leadership of the House. And that decision brought Speaker Baggins then as minority leader. And Right Honorable Doa Jahwe, I think, chief whip and all that. Speaker Baggins served his full first term, served a full second term as minority leader. The same after the Chairman Sabutu. He also served his first term and second term from 2009. This time round, as a strategy, the party have decided to change the front bench of the House. That is what we should be looking at. How did we even determine them in the past? It was the same party that determined. So I don't understand what we are. If we want something different done, then let's develop a regulation and get it approved by the party National Executive Committee that this is how the parliamentary group leadership is selected. Just like the way we all know how the leadership of youth wing is selected. We know how the leadership of women's wing is selected. We know how the foreign chapters select their leadership. We know how the leader of the Zongo caucus is selected. We have not developed regulations as to how to select our parliamentary group leadership. So it has always been the party that, by practice, that determines and then come to the House to inform. And our own standing orders make provision for that. When they define the minority or majority leader as someone designated by the party or parties and all members of parliament. And all that means that if the party fails or the parties in alliance fail, then the members forming the minority can designate somebody. But where the party don't fail in its duty and determine somebody, we as members of parliament that belongs to that group have to abide by. And I think that is what we should be doing now. I'm one person who feels you work to stop something. Once you are unsuccessful in stopping it and out from leadership, you must work to see how it is successfully implemented.
Let me ask you.
That is what I want to urge my colleagues that we should begin to work towards.
Do you then recognize the new crop of leaders?
Well, I cannot refuse to recognize. I have just been a party officer from 2005, been a national officer from 1998. I've been a party executive at least at a very senior level till 2018. Why should I disrespect the decision of the party? I cannot do that.
I asked that
because I respect and love my colleague MPs who have served in leadership positions till now. I equally cannot disrespect the decision of the party. That we can register our concerns about some ways, and we must register this in a way that will not create problems for the party. But we cannot say that we don't recognize the decision, a lawful decision of the party. We cannot say so.
Kofi Adams, thank you very much. Newsnight starts in a minute.